To Sweden.
Welcome to Sweden, indeed, for you.
So we're here in Gothenburg.
Yes,
Yeah.
Gothenburg.
Okay, and this right here is what?
So we are seeing the city hall, not the city hall of but art hall. And if you turn to this side, yeah, now you're seeing the city theater, and now you're seeing the concert hall.
So this is a theater, it's like for, oh, Sergeant Pepper. So what is that, like Broadway shows?
Yeah,
or?
it's kind of yeah, it's the main city theater, the city, and that is the art museum.
And the statue of
have,
Poseidon?
And then the statue of Poseidon, and it is sculpted by Mille, a very famous Swedish sculptor. He has all his sculptures actually in an island in Stockholm. And this is the concert hall. The Gothenburg Symphony Orchestra is here, situated here.
Very
in
nice.
This building.
Oh, I can see it even says
and then you have
concert huset.
Yes, konserthuset.
Well, I can't speak Swedish, that's for sure. Should we take a walk over here and look at the fountain?
Yeah.
And
So
stuff?
if you look straight, if you look. So now we are looking towards the big river, Göta. That's why it's called Göteborg, because it's on a river called Göta. And this is Götaplatsen. So we are heading now towards the sea and towards the river.
So talk to me a little bit about this book fair that got
the book
canceled
fair,
and all that.
The book fair is very close by, right here. And that is the annual book fair. It's the biggest book fair in Sweden, the Gothenburg Book Fair. It's an international book fair.
How many people usually attend?
Thousands of people usually attend. Hundreds of thousands. It's really international. It's not as big as Frankfurt, the Frankfurt Book Fair, but it is, yeah, the biggest here in Sweden anyway.
Oh, we forgot to show
Archie.
Hello, Archie.
Hello, say hi, Archie.
Such a pretty dog. What kind of dog is he?
This is Bernese Mountain Dog.
Wow.
His name is Archie.
Very cute. So the book fair,
Yeah,
well, the alternative, so they kicked everybody out last year,
No,
right?
so the regular book fair is, let's say, the Social Democrats book fair.
Right.
And last year there was a huge scandal right here in town, right where we are, because there is a newspaper which is paid by subsidies, like state subsidies. So it is an established newspaper, sort of established, but it is called a right extremist newspaper because it actually talks about the immigration.
Right.
It's called Nya Tider, the New Times. And that newspaper was part of the regular book fair last year.
Right.
But because it was part of the regular book fair, they made a huge scandal around it. How could it be allowed? It shouldn't be allowed. And then there was an organization, so it's actually a political party, called the Nordic Resistance Movement. The Nordic Resistance Movement had planned to have, right that day when the book fair was opening last year, was planned to have a march in town. They were not allowed to do that because it became an enormous scandal with thousands of leftists that gathered right in front of the book fair. And they could not walk and they could not talk, as we are walking right now. They could not do that. Police everywhere, horse police. I mean, it was a major enterprise.
And that's just regular municipal police or SOPA?
I think everything. I mean, there was so much police.
What's the name of the secret police or whatever it is?
Oh, Seppo.
Seppo.
Yeah, I can imagine they were around as well. I mean, it was, these whole streets here were full of thousands of people, and mainly leftists, and always screaming no Nazis on our streets because these people, the Nordic resistance group or party, are considered Nazis. I have never heard them. I have no idea. I have never been able to hear what they have to say or who they are. You can only read online.
But
well, they
just
have a program.
Even if they are Nazis, they should be allowed
They
to
were
speak.
not allowed to speak. So, but anyway, since this was completely created situation, and it all started with this newspaper. The newspaper, Nya Tider, is actually headed by a person with Czech background, Slavic background. His name is Barbara Suk. And he publishes, I have read the newspaper, they published a story about my removal from the university. They did it, they called me up and they asked me and they published that story. No one else published that story. They were completely fair. And they were extremely meticulous. They wanted to have all documents, all information. They were really petty, and they did a very good job. They showed what it was and followed it up, and they inform a lot about immigration in their newspaper, which is available on paper, but you cannot find it in any shop. It's not, you cannot find that. This newspaper is not available anywhere. It is available on paper only if you subscribe, but you cannot really buy it in anywhere. So it was here in this area. And now we are walking on the main street, Avenue.
Okay.
You could show there is one big church. The churches look like this.
Huh.
Yeah. So we're really center right now.
Yeah. It's nice, I think, for people to get an idea of what it looks like. Many people in the United States, I think, have never been to Sweden and just don't know that much about it. I'm learning quite a lot, even in this short trip. I met someone last night who had been in the Swedish Navy.
Yeah.
He said that he felt like the Swedish Navy was pretty much a pawn of the United States, and that he was an older guy.
Yes, I heard that too.
Yeah. When he was 16, he went into the Navy and was there until he was 28. And he said that they used to have all kinds of American naval guys come on. They'd sign all kinds of secrecy documents and then go spy on the Russians and do missions against the Russians.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
In Swedish submarines.
Yeah.
Pretty underhanded.
Yeah, very much so. I read that. I read an article on that as well. So it's certainly nothing secret.
And a lot of people feel like, you've even said this to me, that Sweden is kind of the beta test for a globalist takeover.
Well, right now it feels like that. I mean, it definitely feels that way.
And everyone at this meeting I was at last night shared that sentiment.
Yeah.
It's almost, I don't want to say fear, but certainly great concern among the people of Sweden about this.
There is enormous concern. I mean, more than ever now after the election.
Yes, and everyone agreed that the election was a sham, that it was rigged.
Well, yeah, I mean, people think that something happened, and something happened when we had the show with you. I was there, and I wanted to show you the results, the count, as it was going, as we were having the show that night during the election night. And I couldn't because both sides, the official sides that are showing the counts of the votes, suddenly went down.
Really?
And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to bother the show. And I was like, what am I going to do? I can't see the counts. So I had to actually go to a TV, the state TV site, and read there, you know, what the counts are. But the official sites for the counts were shut down. Nobody could see what the counts are, and I don't even know how they got it at the SVT, as the TV station.
Wow.
So there have been so many other complaints about meddling and rigging and cheating and so on. So it was a very...
Have they blamed the Russians yet?
They blamed the Russians, absolutely, before
did?
and after.
Really?
Yes.
You're not joking?
I'm not joking.
Oh
they
my
blamed,
God.
of course they did.
Wow.
Yeah, they because of my name, I even got threats now that I'm
People
a Russian
think you're
bot.
Russian.
Yes, Russian bot, anti-Semite, Nazi, racist, whatever. Get out of our beautiful country.
Wow. How long have you lived here?
I moved here. When was it? 87 for the first time.
Just after the assassination of Olof Palme.
Yes. And I was very young, so I didn't really know much. And my mother lived here, so she was married to a Swedish man for many years, but I didn't live with them. I lived with my grandparents. So I came here, and then, but I kind of didn't really live here. I was here studying, and then I was abroad again, you know. So you can't really say I was present. But 10 years ago, so then I went to the States and lived there about 10 years, and then I came back here. But it shouldn't be about me, it should be about Gothenburg.
Well, it's interesting to know, you know, your history here.
Well, altogether, you can say, altogether, I have lived in this town for 20 years.
And it's changed quite a bit.
And it has changed tremendously. Not the streets are the same, but the city as a feeling, as a life, is very different. Now I'm kind of afraid to, in the evenings with Archie, I can't really go.
Right here, you'd be afraid to walk at
in
night.
the evenings, no way.
Wow.
Not in the park either.
Really? That's
And
quite sad.
in the park where I walked with the dog the other day, right here, Lawrencebury, there was a rape on the street. And I was exactly in that park with the dog 2 hours earlier. So imagine something like that happens. I'm not going out now in the evening when it's dark.
And where is that reported? On the news or in the paper?
It was reported in the newspaper, but no details, just rape, Lawrencebury Park, right here.
That's it. They just write that in the paper. That's it.
That's it. Nothing more. We never heard of it anymore.
Don't know who the victim is?
No, nothing.
So how do we know that that's real and not just some...
I think that's why they do it that way, because they wanted to just scare you, and then at the same time, kind of a lip service that they have informed, and then there is no follow-up, no information about the victim, how do they feel, who they are, it never happens. And I think the idea is to make it look as if they have reported it. Yes, you're a bit scared that something has happened, but you have zero information about the rest. So it becomes very unreal.
Yet it has a cumulative psychological impact in that you're saying the general sense is you would not want to be out here at night. You would not want. This is a dangerous neighborhood now.
This is the very center of the city, and since this number of such attacks have happened around here, of course, even this is a danger. I would not go out. Before, I remember walking here at night, 2, 3 o'clock at night, especially the summer, full of clubs and restaurants, and it was very, very lively. Now, I personally don't take risks, particularly not even with my dog. I mean, imagine if something happens to my dog.
Right.
And so anyway, what I wanted to say is about this book fair is that the book fair last year, the book fair was supposed. The book fair last year did happen, and there was this newspaper Niati there that was part of the book fair.
Right.
But they made a huge. The leftists, the social democrats, are really arranging these protests against this. They are instigating people to hate and to hate the editor of the newspaper and so on. So now, this year they said, oh, it was too much trouble last year. It became so problematic. So now we are going to ban the newspaper. And all the writers associated with the newspaper that are writing there and contributors and editors, we're going to ban them from the regular book fair.
Wow.
How do you do that? You're banning, you're banning big names like famous people that have been belonging before to the establishment, so to say, and then they became critical to particularly the violence. And then from that moment on, they are excluded from the book fair. They can't present their books. They cannot present their talks, their ideas, anything. You can't discuss.
How's that freedom of speech?
So then exactly. I mean, you can definitely clearly say there is no freedom of speech in Sweden. There is no doubt about it. There's so many. I'm one of the people. I'm removed from university for discussing something on Twitter. In what way? A woman is just imprisoned, going to prison for 3 months for protesting against the violence and talking about one religion. The book fair. Okay, so.
That type of thing used to never happen.
That type of thing I haven't seen before. It's happening now all the time. If you want, you can show this building because so they decided this banned people, the banned newspaper, the banned writers.
There's
another one, and it's like that all the time.
Huh.
Right today, you're lucky because there is no helicopter. Usually these days, it has been constant helicopter
Police?
around. I think so. I mean, hovering helicopters for hours and hours. Anyway, they were supposed, the book fair, the banned people, decided to make their own book fair, and they called it Alternative Book Fair, which is kind of a new book fair because the newspaper is called Nya Tider. And it was booked here, in this building.
The tall one?
This is a hotel, the whole thing together.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Park Avenue. So they had tried many places and nobody wanted really to host them.
Right.
And then they decided for this hotel. The hotel said, okay, we'll do it, everything fine. They sold tickets for the book fair. People are booking their airplane tickets, train tickets from all over, including you. People from all around the world and Europe are coming, bringing books.
Oh yeah.
And then
probably a lot of books.
A lot of books, yeah, because they're trying to sell.
Heavy, expensive to travel, right? And they're relying to make their money there.
Exactly, they're relying to make at least some advertisement and participate, mingle, talk, exchange ideas, thoughts.
Right.
And anyway, so this, Archie.
This hotel, yeah.
Yeah, this hotel, all of a sudden, just a few days before the book fair starts, says we cannot assure security.
Right.
So now they have 1 week left, and they have no, Archie, no. And then there's some smell here that is very interesting. And then so they decided, okay, we have to find another place. And so they decided to, right here that you were showing before, behind this place, there is another like football stadium.
Right.
Behind the regular book fair that is also happening exactly the same time this weekend.
Yes.
And they decided to have some kind of a pavilion, a tent, where people can participate and have talks and so on. And I was an invited speaker.
Nice.
There were many speakers.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a few days before that, so now they changed the plan from this hotel, and then they went to the pavilion in a tent.
Right.
And then the Gothenburg City, the leadership in Gothenburg City and the police told them that they have to cancel it because they cannot assure security.
Huh. That
because
seems
of
like
leftists,
the same exact thing
exactly the same
thing.
thing. So leftists, there's so much violence. They expect so much violence from leftists due to the situation last year.
Right.
And also they had invited one of the speakers is Lars Vilks. Lars Vilks is the person who made cartoons and artwork that associate Mohammed.
Right, he's Dutch.
Yeah, Lars Vilks is Swedish. He lives in Sweden.
Oh.
And he did these paintings and art related to Islam, critical to Islam. I think one of the paintings, I mean, he has probably many, where he is depicting Muhammad or associated somehow with a dog. I haven't really seen it, so I don't know really how it looks.
Muhammad with a dog?
And this, yes, with a dog, or he himself is a dog, I'm not sure. In any case, this person has been threatened with death so many times.
Really?
His house was burnt, but he was luckily not there when it happened.
Wow.
And so now he has bodyguards, both from the Secret Service and police, that are with him 24/7 for 8 years.
Wow.
So the state, the taxpayers are paying his security for 8 years, non-stop, day and night. And he was invited to give a talk, but he could not be in the pavilion, so he had booked another place. I mean, a mess. You can't speak, you know, you have to have an entire army with you to survive. So what happened is that they could not be in the pavilion. They got upset. Okay, we cannot even have a book fair, you know, we just want to sell our books. And then yesterday evening, I just got a message. We're going to be in the Knights Templar house.
What?
Yes, the Knights Templar. I mean, it's like Middle Ages Inquisition time situation. They could not find any other place but that place where they could actually meet secretly.
Yeah.
And Lars Vilks was there, and I wasn't there. So I know
Aren't the
that
Knights Templar kind of not...
the Knights Templar, secrecy, Catholic Church. It's a secret army of the Catholic Church.
Right.
But they stand for everybody's freedom of speech. So they offered their house, and the whole thing was secret. So they couldn't announce to the speakers where the location is.
Wow.
So they're last minute writing, okay, it is in this place. Oh, the Knights of I thought this really reminded me of the Middle Ages, how the Catars were persecuted by the Catholic Church and burned because they were heretics. They didn't want to be Catholic, remember? Wow. And also, if you have seen the Da Vinci Code, the Da Vinci Code is the stories around them as well, the secrecy of Saunière and how they are keeping the secrets of the authentic Christianity, the Holy Grail, and the Holy Grail appears to be actually the daughter of Jesus and Magdalena.
Wow.
That during so that's the story, right? And here, all of a sudden, these people that are just basically talking about violence and solutions for the violence and the immigration issues and so on, these people are treated as heretics that cannot openly speak anywhere, and they have to hide, and we have to get these secret messages, okay, we're going to be the Knights Templars.
Wow.
And they apparently had some meeting, and Lars Vilks had a talk where he described his situation. I didn't attend it.
But it's these democratic socialists that are basically...
Social Democrats, yeah.
Social Democrats, sorry. So there's the Democratic Socialists of America that are now, just last week, got busted by James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. They've infiltrated various, you know, the State Department, and they're resisting Trump. But it sounds like democratic socialism is not working so well for Sweden.
No, it's this year, as you remember from our election night show, they historic loss. They lost more than ever, and this 10%. I mean, they got about 30%. But if you eliminate the 10% of immigrant-heavy areas votes, then they would have 20%, and that's as low as you can get. They have lost trust. People have lost trust in the Social Democrats. This should be a very, very big signal for them. Yet they continue like before. I mean, okay, book fair, you can't have a book fair. People have to secretly meet somewhere to sell some few books. Tonight, right now as we speak, somebody informed me that the first leader of the Sweden Democrats, so the so-called opposition party, which is a leftist party, it's the Social Democrats that don't want too much immigration. That's basically their situation. They're not more radical than that, of what I understand. So they have their first leader, and that leader has written a book about the history of this party. This party is the third biggest party in Sweden today, after the election now. And the information about the location, where the place is going to be, was secret. You have to first meet in a gas station, or and then some people are meeting you there at the gas station, and then after the gas station they are going to direct you where the location of the talk is going to be. The book is already published. I saw the book. It's a proper book. He has been working very hard to do it, to show what has really happened through the years. So I think it's ridiculous. I mean, it's totally ridiculous. I mean, you're
smiling and everything, but it's quite serious, really.
Well, I'm smiling because I find it ridiculous. At this point, there is a point in which you have to start laughing, you know. It's just, I can't take them seriously. And they are, but on the other hand, it's a very serious situation. Now that we got this sentence against the woman from, I think, Jönköping, Christina, 65 years old woman. She was beaten bloody by a gang. Then she went on Facebook and protested against it and made some conclusions about the world and how stupid it is to have such violence and so on. And she wrote apparently also something about the religion that none of us can mention. And she is she's sentenced to prison for 3 months.
It's terrible.
So the big issue, the big problem that this sort of procedure of shutting down discourse is anti-Western, it's anti-civilized, because all we have, and we have kept this peace, you know, going on in Europe for all these years, because if there are issues, whether they're political or any other issues, we discuss them, we communicate, we do it verbally, like this, like talking. Whereas if you suppress the freedom of speech, you're cutting off the possibility for having an intelligent discourse and resolving issues through discourse, through negotiation. I mean, I've written so much on negotiation and dedicated to that to a great extent. And to see this instigation of, you can turn around, to see this instigation of violence. This is instigation of violence. If you shut down people from being able to say something when there is violence and they want to analyze it and kind of organize themselves, I guess, or at least talk about it, then you are instigating violence. And that's what I think the Social Democrats and the establishment here in Sweden, in UK, and in Germany are doing. They are instigating violence.
I haven't heard it said quite like that before, Bilyana, but that's very well said. It's instigating violence. And with that, we're going to say good evening from Gothenburg.
We can say with Archie, because he's a peacekeeper here. He's a guard of the, he just turned up.
Say goodnight, Archie.